Alrighty, Erin, thank you so much for being here with me today. And I'm so excited to introduce you to our Find Food Freedom family. So we have the creative director, Erin Kearns Vasquez here of Find Food Freedom. Thank you so much for joining me, Erin.
Thank you for having me. I am thrilled to be here.
I'm so thrilled that you are here as well, as I've told you many times over the past few months. So I think before we get into what it means, like all things creative director with Find Food Freedom and kind of introducing you to our family, I would love to start with, I'm going to go out of order when we talked off air. I would love to start with like, how did you find Food Freedom? Obviously, I know this story, but I always love hearing it and maybe I'll learn something new, and just kind of tell our family how you found us.
Sure, yeah. So I niched into intuitive eating, which means I only help intuitive eating professionals. And so I was scouring the internet for potential clients and came across Find Food Freedom. And I was so impressed. The first thing I did was I took your free training. And of course, at first I thought like, oh, it's going to be like, I've seen a bunch of these. So I thought, here's another one. It's going to be, here are the 10 principles of intuitive eating. And like, I'm reading it out of a textbook and it's honestly a little bit boring. But instead it like got into the deep emotions and like I found myself tearing up and it was just so moving and wonderful. And then I was like, okay, they're different. This is someone that I really want to work with. But I had a little bit of imposter syndrome going on at the time. And I told myself, you know what? They're probably too good for you. You better hang back and just watch for a while and just don't pitch them yet until you're sure. Like just observe for a while. And I did for a long time and kept being very impressed. October, like 3 or 4 months or so. And then it wasn't until I sent out like a giant broadcast email to all intuitive eating counselors in the US, because I was decided to be bold, that you replied to that email and that you were like, I would really love to talk to you. And I almost lost my mind. I was like, it's the client I've been stalking that I would really like to work with. And I got really, really excited, but I try not to sound too excited when I reply to you. So
First of all, there's nothing wrong with being excited. I think that's a good thing.
Yeah.
And I know you and I have talked about this, how like for you being in copywriting, like finding your ideal clients is so important. And for us as intuitive eating counselors, like it's that same feeling when we meet with like our ideal client that just genuinely like wants to ditch dieting and work on intuitive eating. And it's just such a harmony and it's such a good feeling. Yes. And I love that you made a bold move. I think that's like, I'm so glad you brought that up because we have so many like interns that reach out to us, or just so many people looking to work with our team at, all different positions. And I want to say like every single person that's on our team has done something similar to you. Like I love people that take initiative and like really are like, this is what I can do for you, instead of like, hey, do you have a job? Like, you know what I mean? I think there's like entitlement that comes with that versus like, hey, I love what you're doing. I align with it. And here's what I can do. And here's what I can add to the team. And that's like exactly, I remember reading your first email and be like, holy shit, this unicorn exists in the world. I didn't know there was such thing as a copywriter who could specialize in intuitive eating. So
yeah, and you were from the first emails, you were very like open, transparent, direct, like you weren't afraid. You weren't just like dipping your toes in, like, I'm not sure, no, some people will go back and forth and then they'll scare themselves out of it. But you were like, this is great, let's do this, how do we start? And it was just amazing since then.
Yeah. And I think, and that it's a perfect flow into our next question, because I was definitely, I'm very upfront with you and when we chatted and I'm open with everybody on social media that I love talking, I love speaking, I love making videos, but like I am a terrible writer and I honestly despise it. Like if I sit down to write, I feel like, I don't know if I go like brain dead or what's happening, but like I can't say the message I want to say if I try to write it versus speak it. So I always knew I needed help with that, but I just like, I truly didn't know people like you, or not people like you, because there's really nobody else like you
Oh,
exist. So if you
yeah.
could share like what it means, like just kind of introducing yourself to our family of like, what is the creative director position at Find Food Freedom, and how can people expect to see Erin pop up in their inbox and just all over?
Sure, yeah. In a nutshell, I like to say that I get to help spread the word about Find Food Freedom and intuitive eating. Because that's my main function, actually. I know creative director sounds a little weird, but it's to connect you with your audience and to get your message in front of more people. And it's a message I believe in very strongly. So it's very rewarding to be able to help you spread that message and to get more people, in out of diet culture and into intuitive eating. So in doing that, it's mostly communication type things. So all the email marketing, the emails. So for example, I know you know this, but for the people listening, the emails that we send out, or that you got. No, I'm part of the team now. The emails.
You are a part of the team. I was quickly gonna correct you if you
I
were gonna say
know.
you.
You've been so welcoming. I'm trying to like change my language in my mind because I'm not used to this from clients. So the emails that we send out from you are created by me, but with a huge amount of input from you. So you send me, we talk, we have meetings, or you send me voice memos. And you're amazing at it, by the way. Like I have clients that are very shut down and it's very hard to pick information out of them. It's like, pulling teeth to try to get information out of them. And you will just stream of consciousness ramble, and that's not an insult, that's the best thing for me. So you have so much to say and you have so much knowledge on the subject, and you've worked with so many people that like everything comes very easily to you and you're very passionate about it. So everything you give me is golden, and I take what you say, and you have a lot of the ideas too of like, let's do an email about this, and then you send me like a, I don't know, 6-minute voice memo about it, and then I just take your words and sit down and write it so that you don't have to. So write a lot of the emails. Also, you might see my writing on random web copy. I don't think we've done any yet, but sales pages, just any material, any written material about Find Food Freedom, about the services that we have to help people get into intuitive eating. And yeah, I think that's about it. Am I right about this?
Yeah. And I think it's important to share this, because I think so many people, and especially for students, I think a lot of students listen to our podcast, or like dietetic students, where they're like, how do you start a virtual private practice? Or how do you, reach so many people? And I think a lot of people get asked that if they have an audience on social media. And I think it's really important to showcase, like, and I say it all the time, but I want to say it over and over again, like, I'm not doing this alone. Like,
Yeah.
I can't do this alone. Was I doing it alone in the beginning? Absolutely. And that's when shit was just crazy and dropping everywhere. And, I always say like next level, next devil, as you grow, like there's growing pains and organizations, but being able to have the privilege to bring you on has been so great, because I do have so many stories that I like to share, but I can't, like I said, my brain just doesn't work when it comes to writing. And so we're recording this right before my baby girl will make her arrival. So I'm even more excited that like I can send you a voice memo at 2 a.m. while I'm hopefully breastfeeding and thinking about diet culture, and you can take that and use my words and tell a story to our community, which I think is just so important. And I'm just so excited. We've already seen the impact that it's had since you've come on, but I'm really excited to see my stories paired with your brain, like combined and packaged up. And I just think we have the exact same mission, where we just want to help as many people as possible. And so I think we're going to be able to do that in such a great way.
Yeah, again, ideal client is you. It's been really great.
Yes.
And I hear that all the time, by the way. Like, this is totally normal that, oh, I'm not good at writing. And I always tell my clients, you need to lean into like what comes naturally to you, and please outsource the rest, because life is too short for you to be like struggling and hating what you're doing. And when you could be doing something that you're amazing at, like TikTok, that you don't have any help with that. I think you just come up with those off the top of your head out of nowhere, and they're amazing. Yeah. So yeah,
thank you.
I think you're doing it right. When people are coming to you asking how to do a virtual private practice, they're coming to the right person.
Yeah. And I think that's such a good point that you had there is like, I think it took me a long time in business to learn, like, you don't have to do things that you don't like, because I was coming up. And that's why when you landed in my inbox, that's why I was so ready at that point, because I had used the excuse, I don't like writing. I know I need to write emails, but I don't have time, right? Like you can come up with like all of these excuses, but like email is such an amazing form of communication with your audience, because it's a direct invitation to speak to someone versus like everybody's just scrolling on social media and there's shit everywhere. But when people are on our email list, like they're genuinely curious about intuitive eating and they want to learn more. And we can't, like, I really think people on our email list are getting the best possible version of Find Food Freedom, like even more than the social media content we put out, just because we are so thoughtful with what we put in these emails. And it's a lot of behind the scenes stuff too. Like,
that's true. Yeah.
by the time this comes out, our Drew Barrymore segment will be live. And so like everyone on our email list is going to know about that before social media. And so there's that like special connection and email too, that
it's a relationship. You have a relationship with your subscribers, and email is very personal. I mean, you're right there in someone's inbox when they're like, I don't know, they wake up in the morning, they check their email, you're in bed with them. That sounds weird, but you are.
I love that. Just having a sleepover with everybody.
Exactly. It's so personal.
It's so true. It's so true. And so I think why this, again, is such an easy conversation to flow to the next question, why I was so like shook when I saw your email, is because I just didn't know that a copywriter could be specialized in intuitive eating. Like I genuinely had no idea that niche existed. And again, I still really don't know if there's anyone else doing what you're doing so well, but that was always like, I wanted to hire a copywriter for years, but that was one of my biggest, I don't even know if I could call it an excuse. It was part excuse, part fear of like you said, this is a relationship with our community, and I couldn't jeopardize someone taking my stories and putting diet culture language on it. So it was so important to me to find someone who understood intuitive eating. So if you want to share with our family, just like, what has your relationship with food looked like? You know, whether you want to start at childhood and go to adulthood, or just like, how has your relationship with food changed since you found intuitive eating, and how long have you been on your intuitive eating journey, and all those things?
Yeah, I'm happy to. I will start at childhood, although I won't go too long, but so just because I feel like it's a story that a lot of our audience can relate to. So I was one of the people who grew up fat, basically started to fall outside the healthy ranges early on. I don't remember at what age, maybe 6 or 7 by then, like my parents were starting to get concerned, or doctors are starting to get concerned. And of course, this was back in, God, I was born in 1986. So like, it was very diet culture-y at these doctor's visits. So yeah, I remember realizing that fat was bad, like by age 8, definitely learned that, I was too big and that was bad. Was bullied by my peers at school, which is strange because now when I look back, I'm like, I wasn't that big. Like if I look at pictures of myself, I'm like, what were they talking about? Like, so yeah, a long history of that. I went on my first diet when I was 10 years old. And I'm going to preface this by saying my mother is an amazing person. She loves me intensely. She wants the best for me. She's a therapist, so she's always been very like careful with my emotional health and just always trying to like make me feel seen and heard and supported. But I also have to acknowledge that she was doing the best she could with the resources she had at the time, with the knowledge that she had at the time. And she was also raised in diet culture. So, in her mind, weight is directly linked to health, or was directly linked to health. And me being heavier was cause for concern. She was worried about my health. She never said, you don't look good. She tried to never shame me. But it definitely came across that, this is a problem and we need to fix it. For your health, we need to fix it. It was always, I'm concerned about your health. So she did it the best way she knew how. She took me to a dietitian when I was 10 years old. And they tried really hard to make it about health, not shaming, but, there was portion limiting, there was food tracking, there was rewards for losing weight. So basically, yeah, first diet at 10 with everything, all the bad messages of diet culture starting right then. And so of course, like obviously maybe I lost some weight, but it didn't work because diets don't work, as we now know.
And you're also growing. Can we like just
Yeah,
make that like observation, like a 10-year-old, you should be worried about like what friends you're going to play with outside,
yeah,
or not shape shifting your body.
yeah. And also, like, I think I know a lot of girls will put on weight before they put on height. Like that's just
Yes.
the normal part of puberty. I
Yes.
know a lot of parents get very concerned with that, and that was definitely happening to me. So yeah, so that was age 10. And then I don't remember all the specific diets, but I know I was on Weight Watchers when I was like 14, 15, maybe. I know I tried Slim Fast, shakes at school. I know I just remember this very helpless feeling of like, I am this way, this weight is on me. I don't know how to get it off. The things I try don't work. And anyway, when I do try stuff, it works very slowly and it doesn't seem to be fast enough. Just a lot of strife and frustration in my teenage years over my weight. Um, and then what happened? Then when I reached adulthood, I became really, really good at dieting, like a pro, like a MyFitnessPal Weight Watchers pro. I know generic calorie amounts for way too many foods that they're still in my head, like they're just there. So I lost large amounts of weight, like I lost like 80 pounds, like probably two different times at least, and then almost that much a third time. And every time I came back, and nothing ever fixed the deep inner belief that like my self-worth is my weight. Like those two things are inextricably linked. They cannot be separated. If I am heavier, I walk around feeling ashamed and feeling like I need to tell everyone that I'm on a diet. Don't worry, I'm taking care of it. And if I'm thin, then I'm worthy of love. Like, but I better not gain any weight back. So just that whole, and to me, it sounds like, because this is all I write about, this is a story that I've heard 10,000 times. When you guys tell me, show me your case studies, your testimonials, when I listen to your client interviews, I hear this story 1,000 times. So to me, it's like, oh, this is a cliche that I'm repeating here. But I hope that maybe someone listening is thinking, oh, that sounds just like me. Is that, normal? Everyone has this experience. So it's a very, very common experience. Um, and then, so finally what happened, I also have PCOS, right? Diagnosed with PCOS at age 15, and was definitely told, I don't remember. I got the idea that it was my fault. Like it's because you've been overweight for so long, like that can cause this PCOS. And I was definitely told, you need to eat less carbs, you need to manage your weight, you need to exercise like so many times per week to manage your PCOS. So that was always also an idea in my head, this is my fault and I should feel extra guilty because I should be thin to help manage it. And I'm not, so I'm damaging my health further. So definitely like, yeah, very ingrained messages. So by the time I had my first baby in 2017. And I had, did I lose weight? Yeah, I lost weight before that pregnancy because I was under the impression that you need to lose weight to get pregnant. Didn't work, by the way. I had to use Clomid. I'm not even sure if that's how you pronounce it. I had to use Clomid to successfully conceive. And so I had my first baby, amazing, wonderful. Of course, immediately wanted to get the pregnancy weight off because I was like, I know there's going to be another baby in the future and I need to lose weight for that. And I remember being so proud. I lost all the baby weight I think by the 9-month mark after my first baby was born, through like the keto diet. And oh my God, when I think back now to like what I did to myself to do that,
Postpartum too. Like think about
postpartum
that.
with a newborn and like the low carb flu feeling, the lack of energy, I felt like I was dying sometimes. So yeah, I was super proud of that at the time. Then used Clomid again, got pregnant with my second baby, and she was born in March 2020. which is not the best time to have a baby.
Crazy.
It was absolutely crazy. But still, like literally, like I'm in the hospital with her and I'm thinking about my plan to lose the baby weight. I'm like, oh, you know what I'm gonna do? Okay, I'm gonna give myself 2 weeks, 2 weeks of eating whatever I want because I just had a baby. Um, and then after that, I'm gonna get on a plan to lose weight. Like I'm not gonna dilly dally around just 2 weeks and then I'm gonna lose weight. I'm gonna start losing weight. Um, do you know how hard it is to be on a diet, try to lose weight with a newborn and a 2-year-old in a pandemic, trapped in the house? My husband was a teacher. He was teaching from home for the first time ever. It was insane. Like it was just so many levels of insane. It was impossible.
I
Um,
honestly don't know how you did that. Like
it was
as someone who's
torture.
about to pop out a child any minute now, like I think about that constantly. That, I obviously don't know what the postpartum time is going to be like. It's different for
Mhm.
everyone, but I've listened to so many friends and colleagues and, just humans about their experience. And I can't imagine dieting and trying to like shrink my body. I,
It,
I,
it's
I'm
crazy.
holding such deep space for you and that
Oh,
version of Erin, because it's so, I don't know how, it's just, oh, my heart
yeah.
is aching hearing that.
Now I look back and I'm like, was I insane? But back then I was like, this is my obligation. Like this
Yeah,
is what
you
I,
weren't insane. That's diet culture.
yeah,
That's what you were. That was a deep entrenched belief that like, if I'm going to be the good mom, the
yeah.
healthy mom, right, I'm going to do these things.
Exactly. Yeah. And I had C-sections both times, by the way. So there's a longer recovery. I mean, there's different aspects whether you give birth vaginally or C-section, but the loss of like abdominal strength and function and the pain
Absolutely.
and just I remember it just was so hard just to walk around my neighborhood. Like I would get intense back pain.
Mhm.
I guess because your core muscles don't work that well anymore after that. So yeah, but I was like, oh, I gotta get the baby in a stroller and go push her up this hill on a walk like 3 weeks after having her. So yeah, needless to say, I suddenly wasn't that good at losing weight anymore, even though I had managed to succeed at it time and again for the rest of the previously in adulthood. I found it absolutely impossible after my second baby. Just too much crazy life stuff going on. And I tried and I tried and I tried. I mean, I tried in 2 week cycles, like on a diet for 2 weeks, off the wagon for 2 weeks, on a diet, off the diet. So it became exhausting. Like I remember feeling like I wish I could just exist. I wish I could just exist without being on a strict diet or being off the wagon and feeling bad about it. Um, and so I tried for almost a year. And then I was at some point in there, I got a therapist and she's amazing. Everybody should go to therapy. Even the most well-adjusted person in the world should go to therapy. Like,
Totally agree. Our
yeah,
entire team goes to therapy, and I'm like
it's
so
amazing.
thankful for it because I'm like,
Yeah,
how can you live life without a therapist? Oh,
exactly. And especially like as a mom, like just having that 1 hour a week that's focused on you and your issues and like it's all space held for you. Like there is no comparison. So so at some point along that year of trying to lose the baby weight, I got a therapist. And I didn't know it, but she was health at every size aligned. But
amazing.
I didn't know what that was even. So at some point I started to complain to her and say, I just can't, I don't know what's wrong with me. I should be losing weight. I can't lose weight. And I fully expected her to give me like strategies for dieting better. Like, oh, here's some perseverance strategies or whatever. And instead she said, have you ever heard of intuitive eating? And I was like, oh, is this another diet? What is this?
That
Like,
just gave me chills. I have not heard this story yet, by the way. Like I knew you
yeah.
found like how you found us. So I'm so excited to hear more. And I need to like write a personal thank you note to your therapist too, because
She's
that's
amazing. Yeah.
amazing.
Yeah. So that's another thing, by the way. I also work with therapists who like not specialize, but who incorporate like health at every size and intuitive eating. And every time I find one of those, I'm like, you are an amazing human. Thank you for existing. Like you have no idea the good you can do if you are introducing this concept to your clients. It's just incredible. So we need more therapists trained in intuitive eating and health at every size.
I couldn't agree more. I literally went to dinner with a girlfriend last night and she was sharing with me, she's gone to therapy for a long time and she knows what we preach. She totally believes it from, like, and believes in intuitive eating, but doesn't know much about it. But she started getting into food and body stuff with her therapist, and her therapist is not trained in that. So her therapist tried to be like, walk out of the kitchen. And I'm like, no.
Oh, no.
And that's what's so hard is like, they can be trauma informed. They can, be informed in all of these things, but they're humans too. And so if they're not aligned with intuitive eating and HAES, they can honestly cause more harm than good.
Really
Just like dietitians, it's like the same thing. Like I think dietitians genuinely don't want to cause harm, but if they're not trained in intuitive eating and HAES, like they will cause harm, period.
Yeah, like these therapists legitimately want to help everybody, but they don't know, they might not even know it exists. And so they just don't know.
I didn't know it existed as a dietitian for the longest time. So I'm sorry, I just totally like interjected.
Oh no, you're fine. This is the point I need to make. By the way, I looked at I had to leave that therapist due to like a health insurance change, but then I looked in the certified intuitive eating counselors like database for my state, and in all of North Carolina there were like 5 therapists who are certified intuitive eating counselors, and out of all of those, one of them takes my insurance and she's my therapist now.
Well, that's amazing though, that the directory worked and did its job, but
we need more of them is my point.
Yes, we do. That's a kind, like anybody who's listening that's a therapist, like if you're thinking about getting certified, let us know. intuitiveeating.org, get the certification.
Exactly. Okay, so anyway, she said, have you heard of intuitive eating? And she said, I'm going to give you some homework. I'm going to give you a book to read. And the book was The Fuck It Diet by Carolyn Dooner. Yeah. And that was the perfect first book for me because it incites all the rage.
Yes, it does.
So, I read that and it just like, my mind was blown. Like every single part of it resonated. I was just like, how have I never heard of this before? I'm so angry right now that like, this is the first time in my life. I was 30, I don't remember. I don't know, 32 maybe? Like, how is this, or 33, it doesn't matter. Yeah, at 33 years old, like, how is this the first time I'm ever hearing that this is an option? Like, just not dieting is an actual option, and it's not called giving up. Like, that blew my mind. And I just immediately latched onto it because I was like, I'm feeling all these feelings. This is exactly my experience. And then I read the actual book, Intuitive Eating, just for like a more scientific foundation, just to like really like delve into what it's all about. And just from that point on, I was sold. Like there is no turning back. There is no way I could ever diet again. It doesn't work. I can't do it. I can't do that to myself.
Oh, I love that. And that makes so much sense. I feel like Caroline is such a talented writer. She's very sassy and snarky and has a very similar kind of take. I feel like her personality in writing. So I could see how that could like really light you up as a writer. And then I love how then, like you said, that progression to intuitive eating of like, okay, there's actual like research and structured principles.
Yeah.
And so then from there, how long from reading intuitive eating did you do our free training? Do you know? Was it like pretty close together or
6 months later?
Okay.
6 months later. So by then I was already pretty well versed in it, but then I was, again, I had seen enough of them that I thought it was going to be like a very dry textbook explanation, but it wasn't. It like woke up all the same feelings that I had when I was reading the first book.
Yes.
So, yeah.
And then now during that time too, with your career as a copywriter, I remember you telling me you've worked in, all different with all different kind of clients. And I think you were working with like, wasn't it like an HVAC company for a while? You're like, I can tell you everything you need to know about like HVAC. So when did you say like, okay, I can't write about anything other than intuitive eating? Like when did that shift happen?
Yeah. So I was writing anything and everything for anybody. I didn't have a niche because I was like, I like to learn everything. I'm classic ADHD person. Like I just pick up 1,000 interests. And so it was always really, it used to hold my attention to write about a bunch of different topics. But after I wrote about, 300 pages about furnaces and air conditioners for my like biggest, most steady client, it was around, let's see, May of this time last year that I was like, I am losing interest in the things I'm writing. Like this, I need to feel like the things that I'm writing are doing something good in the world. Like I cannot maintain my focus and my attention and my drive if I don't feel like I'm contributing something good to the world. So it was the perfect time to pick a niche. And I was feeling very passionate about intuitive eating and everything I was learning and everything I was experiencing like on my intuitive eating journey. And I was like, you know what? This is my niche now. There are intuitive eating dietitians. I only want to work with those people and the therapist this is my niche. So it was about a year ago. Yeah.
That's amazing. Congratulations. That's got
Thank
to
you.
be like really exciting to look back on and be like, do you ever
Yeah.
like have those pinch me moments where you're like, I can't believe I'm
Yes.
actually doing this?
Yes. All the time. I'm like, I
Yeah.
get to write this thing like this email sequence that thousands of people have already gone through, and like it's amazing. That happens all the time. Like I tried out a few other careers first. I tried nonprofits, and then I was a pastry chef and cake decorator, and then I taught in Mexico, and then I came back to the US and taught in the US. So like tried on a lot of different hats, and I always wanted to be a writer. Like since I was literally, you can ask my fourth grade teacher, Miss Beard, like I wanted to be a writer, and she was encouraging that. All I ever wanted to do was find a way to be paid to write. And like sometimes I'm seriously look around and I'm like, I'm getting paid to write. And I'm getting paid to write about intuitive eating.
Yeah, I was gonna add that you're getting paid to write about like what you're so passionate about, and
Yeah.
that's what's changed your life. So that is so, so cool. And it shines through in every email that you write, whether it's for like your own email list where I know like you're talking to all intuitive eating dietitians and therapists, or
Mhm.
when you're working with our team. It's so I love reading your emails, and I don't like reading a lot either. Like, so I'm like not good at reading and writing. I'm definitely like more of a science brain, but so I would love to then kind of, for two things. One thing, we need to get pictures of multiple cakes that you've decorated and post those on social. I know I saw your
Yeah.
daughter's 2-year-old Cookie Monster
Oh
cake,
yeah, that
which
was a
was
Cookie Monster. Yeah.
so fucking cute. And so that's going to be one of them. But then any other pictures that you have, I would love to see more. And I feel like that's such a fun fact to share.
Yeah.
And then lastly, just any parting thoughts for our listeners, our family, anybody who's listening to this that maybe is like you said, it feels cliche to you to tell your story, but they're like, holy shit, like that's my exact story. Like just any parting thoughts for them or anything you want to leave them with.
Just that like it's okay to do this. Like I remember it was like a moral quandary when I was first getting into intuitive eating, because it always felt immoral to be heavier, and it felt immoral to choose to not diet, like to be off of a diet. And you're only good when you're on a diet. So for me that was like a big struggle, and like what will people around me think, and like at a certain point it doesn't matter what they think. It's your body, it's your life. You're the one that has to suffer through dieting or can make peace with your body and with food. And it is possible to just exist around food. And like that's it, that's the end of the sentence. You can exist around food without feeling intense guilt or intense cravings or fear or whatever. It's totally possible, even if you feel like I had dieted for 24 years. I was 34 years old and I dieted for 24 years. And I just feel like if I can embrace it, and if I could stop dieting, then anybody can, you know?
Yeah, that is so beautifully said. That reminds me of the quote. I'm going to probably butcher it. I don't even know who said it, but like if you live your life trying to not disappoint others, you're always
Yeah,
going to disappoint yourself. And
exactly.
I feel like intuitive eating is like taking that step of saying like, I'm going to shut down the noise of everyone else and
Mhm.
learn how to trust myself again, which is
Yeah.
so hard, so scary.
Mhm.
Um, Especially with just your personal story of like all the messaging you grew up around, and whether it was verbal or nonverbal of what you were
Mhm.
made to believe. But I'm so, so, so thankful that you took that risk and went on the journey, because without you, Find Food Freedom would have no communication with their community, because I can't write. And I know
You
that your
guys were doing
story.
okay when I came along.
We're doing okay, but
Yeah.
you always boosted my confidence. You're like, you just have everything so organized and
I
have
know.
lists for everything. But I was like, yeah, but it wasn't always this way.
Yeah. Yeah.
So
Yeah. You've come a long way. You've grown a lot. Like that really shows too.
it takes time for sure.
Yeah.
But thank you so much for sharing your story with us, Erin. I think this is going to be awesome. I'm so excited for people to hear it. And just thanks for being you.
Thank you. Same to you. I mean, that sounds cliche too, but literally, thank you.